Hey, what's going on, guys? It's your boy, Nirmodon, and I'll be doing a gameplay commentary over some Battlefield 4. For this particular installment, I'll be going over a few of the analytical stats for the AK-5C, and I figured this would be a good time to talk about it considering that beta stats might be different from the actual finalized game stats, and that's bound to change. Depending on how much feedback DICE receives during the beta, that's going to definitely mean a lot for improving the beta or keeping the beta kind of as a full release for the final product when it's released. Hopefully, I'm sure many of you guys have been, typing at DICE, letting them know about things that are wrong with the game and things that you would like to see adjusted. Of course, I would highly recommend doing that if you figure something is not fair or if something needs to be altered and or adjusted. But before that, guys, let's jump right into it and give you guys some information about the gameplay, of course. I'm going to be playing a little bit of the Domination game type that was issued in for the beta of Battlefield 4. I actually really enjoy it, however, the spawns are a little wonky. Sometimes they can be a little bit penaltying to the player that is definitely pushing forward onto the objective. So I imagine a lot of that will be altered and or adjusted when the final game comes out, but I imagine throughout the year we're going to have a few more patches just to finalize that, of course. But with that said and done, of course, I do enjoy the close quarters combat. I think it's really good for getting your aim on par. I think it allows you to definitely focus in on your target and try to figure out which sensitivity setting best fits you. I've definitely been evolving myself and trying to alter my playstyle to become a little bit better in that close range combat, because in Battlefield 3 that was definitely my weakness and I look forward to hopefully improving it along the way. So with that said and done, guys, let's jump into the statistics for the AK-5. As of right now, the capacity for it is going to be a 30 round magazine, and that's pretty standard for most carbines and or assault rifles that are issued into Battlefield 4, or if you were to go back in previous games, Battlefield 3 had a pretty standard amount of ammunition, especially for the magazines when it came to that 30 round notion. Now, of course, some of you veterans out there are aware that you can actually get 31 rounds inside of your weapon. You can have a 30 round magazine on standby, followed by 1 round in the chamber. That's going to give you a slight advantage, but considering that Battlefield 4 is going towards a little bit more of a further realistic appeal, they're actually going to penalize you for premature reloads. So I'd highly recommend not, dumping a 30 round magazine if you don't have to, because that's going to lose your total ammunition, and I'm sure a lot of you console guys are familiar with that format, because that seems to be something that only the console guys has of the moment, but I imagine that'll transfer over with the final release depending on the game type that you choose, of course. So anyway, guys, the rate of fire that is clocking in is actually going to be listed as 800 rounds per minute, and that's actually on par with an assault rifle in Battlefield 3 known as the M416. It was a very popular weapon, maybe not as much as the M16A3, but it was definitely one of the second best in that category. It was great for medium to long range, and it definitely was very accurate in that standpoint. With 800 rounds per minute, that allows you to actually play the close quarter maps a little bit more. It allows you to actually get in there, dig into the opposition, and definitely set up a little bit of a fortress for yourself to take cover on. I'm sure at the beginning of the gameplay you guys saw me taking refuge behind a couple of concrete blocks, and they actually provided sufficient cover. Maybe not the best in the game, but they were definitely a little bit better than standing out in the open with only my flesh to be ripped from my bones, of course. But with that said and done, of course, I would like to let you guys know that the fire modes for this particular weapon is actually listed as single shot and burst mode. And nothing too crazy there. Battlefield has always been a game to always issue in that single fire even for some of the fully automatic weapons. Nothing too different there. But I would imagine, especially in the standpoint of actually having the fully auto capability available to you, I would highly recommend bursting your shot. If you're unfamiliar with the terminology, that kind of just means to pepper it, maybe do about 5 to 8 round burst. It's going to make your accuracy downrange a lot more accurate than it would be if you just lay down the trigger. Unfortunately, this game does have a penalty just like most of the Battlefield games when it comes to just lighting up the opposition. And, definitely you want to decrease the penalty upon yourself. If you can make yourself more accurate, you're going to have a better chance at dropping the opposition and leading yourself to a more successful game style. And hopefully you guys will evolve that with your game style along with myself. So the reload time is actually going to be clocked in at 2.5 seconds, which is actually pretty fast. It's not the fastest in the game. We've definitely seen faster in Battlefield 3. The M16A3, if I'm correct, had a sufficiently faster one than that. And, that's okay. I imagine, if they need to make alterations to it, they'll definitely do that, but I think 2.5 seconds is pretty fair. I don't think that's too long by any means, of course, but that's not to say that we have any information in reference to the quick and the long reload. 2.5 seconds, I imagine, is if your magazine is completely empty, which would, make a pretty good idea of, trying not to let yourself get too empty in that category, but also at the same expense, those premature reloads will lead to a demise especially. So guys, as you are probably familiar with how the game functions, there is bullet velocity within pretty much every single weapon in the game. May that be a weapon that shoots a particular round, or may that be something that shoots an explosive to destroy a vehicle or personnel in some cases. And for this particular weapon, the bullet velocity is listed as 600 meters a second, which is pretty good. It's not great by any means, but it's not terrible. You know, it's pretty average, especially for carbines, and you know, if it was any higher, that might be a little bit of an indication of a little bit of a patch coming our way. But I think 600 is pretty fair. I think that's going to at least allow you to lead your target without having to, you know, place your crosshairs too much ahead of them. But overall, 600 is not a bad one by any means, and I imagine that's pretty standard. So quickly, I want to talk about the damage before everything kind of finalizes, and we do have the damage listed for the minimum damage and the maximum damage listed as 18 and 25. That is pretty standard for the Battlefield franchise, nothing too different there. We've always seen statistics that kind of within this ballpark. It's a little higher than normal, but not by too much. And that's pretty much all the information that we have as of the moment, guys. If you had ever anything that you would like to add to it, feel free to let me know in the comments below. And I look forward to making videos similar to this, but this has been NMO, guys. It's my time to sign out, and I will see you in the next installment. So this has been NMO, and I'm signing out, guys. Peace.